Hey everyone, I'm Joe Cherries, and this is my attempt at the hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Violet using only Steel-type Pokemon. The Steel-type is absolutely and undoubtedly the best defensive type in the whole entire game. Not only does the type have an average defense of a whopping 110, but Steel also resists 10 of the 18 types in the game. This run has 15 different encounters, and yes, every single one of them is available in Pokemon Violet. My rules for this run are: only the first encounter of each unique evolutionary line. Once a Pokemon faints, it must be permanently boxed. No items in battle besides held items. No leveling past the next boss's ace. And the game must be played in set mode at all times. We obviously start by creating our character, and I will say, as someone who's non-binary, it feels awesome to not have to pick whether I'm a boy or a girl. I just get to make my character look exactly how I want to and play the game. The first thing we do in every single one of these runs is pick our starter. Sadly, none of the starters evolve into a steel type, so I pick Quaxley, giving our rival Fuecoco, which will be a huge problem for our team the entire run. After this, we have the long slog that is the beginning of the Gen 9 games. But thanks to the power of editing, you don't have to deal with that. So look, boom, we're at our starter already. It's a Rookidee who will evolve eventually into a Steel type. I catch him and name him Mean Joe. And honestly, I am very proud of the naming scheme in this video. Right after this, we can get our second encounter right at the top of this tower, a Gimmighoul that I catch and name Franco Harris. But obviously, Gimmighoul's not going to be useful at all until it evolves. We then head up to these little ruins where I can catch my next two encounters. First is this Bronzor that I catch and name Bradshaw. And second is this Tinkatink that I catch and name Ron Woodson. And then I realized about 5 minutes later, oh, his name shouldn't be Ron Woodson, it should be Rod Woodson. But honestly, who names their kid Rod? We then roll this giant olive that literally defies all physics that I've ever known to exist. Seriously, the physics on this thing are completely wild. But after we finally get into the basket, we're ready to face off against Katie, the bug-type gym leader. She leads off with Nimble as we lead off with Bradshaw. Katie's Grasshopper is pretty quick and moves first, hitting us with a Struggle Bug that only deals 5 damage, but lowers our special attack. But that doesn't matter because we're going to be hitting on the physical side. We use Rock Blast and hit 3 times to take Nimble down to below half. A second Struggle Bug also does pitiful damage the next turn, so a second Rock Blast can finish it off. Out second for Katie is Tarantula. Tarantula? I don't know how to pronounce this thing's name, honestly. Bradshaw's faster than this little spider, so he goes first and hits a Rock Blast that rolls 4 and takes the spider to the red. The Iron Ball then strikes back with a super effective assurance that crits and takes us down to just 15 HP. Because we are faster, we can outspeed it next turn and finish it off with another Rock Blast. Or, at least we would have if we didn't miss. A non-crit assurance luckily only takes us to 3 HP, so we can finish it off next turn with 100% accurate Confusion. Last up is Katie's ace, Teddy Ursa. I switch out into Mean Joe, and yes, I know you're going to yell at me in the comments. I know he's not a Steel type yet, but I let myself use Pokemon whose final form is a Steel type before they turn into the Steel type. As we come in, we resist a Fury Cutter that hits for a surprising amount of damage for about a third. Next turn, we outspeed and Terra for a double stab on our Air Cutter that deals around half to the Bear Bug. A second Fury Cutter then takes us to the red. I'm really not sure if another Air Cutter will kill from this range, but I also don't have any better options. So I stay in and go for the Air Cutter. And we get a clutch high roll to take out the bear and not lose any Pokemon. That was super close, but we won the battle and we got some cupcake. After making quick work of the Titan Claw and gathering the 5 FPS Sunflora, which can apparently fly now, we are ready to face off against the Grass Gym Leader, Brassius. He leads off with Petalil as we lead off with Mean Joe. And as we send in Mean Joe, his Unnerve ability procs, meaning the opposing team can't eat berries. And I just find the wording on this to be so silly. Imagine being too nervous to eat a berry. Turn 1 I Terrestrialize for that double stab on my flying moves. The double stab pluck then just misses out on the Oko, but the Petalil really can't do that much to us. So after taking a Mega Drain, a second pluck can finish off the Baby Flower. Next out is Anxiety Olive, and this thing has worse defense than the Baby Flower, so it goes down to a single pluck. This brings out the ace, Sudowoodo. This thing has Rock Throw, which is super effective against Mean Joe, so I switch out into Bradshaw, who takes 7 damage from the resisted Rock Throw on the switch. The next turn, the tree outspeeds and goes for a Trailblaze that does 10 damage and raises its speed, but that doesn't really matter as the tree was already outspeeding us. We then hit a Flash Cannon that does pretty pathetic damage. Next turn, Bradshaw gets hit with another Trailblaze that rolls a little lower, only doing 9 damage. We then try for a Gyro Ball to see what kind of damage we roll, and it's even worse than Flash Cannon. The next turn, a third Trailblaze rolls even lower, dealing 8 damage as we go for a Confusion, hoping to confuse the tree, but we fail to do so. We can survive one more non-crit Trailblaze, so we stay in. At this point, I hear a little voice in my head.
Remember, Joe, always play around the critical hit. Oof, get good, Joe.
All I can do now is swallow my pride and take the free switch out into Rod. And God, is this part of the fight extremely boring. I'll skip ahead. Basically, we lower this thing's attack with baby doll eyes, and then we draining kiss it to death. It takes forever, but it gets the job done. We got out of this fight, and all it cost us was a stupid bronzong. We didn't need that thing anyway. Following this fight, we have a team upgrade as Mean Joe evolves into a Corvisquire, and don't worry, you'll be a knight someday as long as I don't sacrifice you. Foreshadowing. With 3 empty slots in our party, we go hunting for some new party members. First, we find a Magnemite that we catch and name Heinz Ward. Then, a Riolu that I catch and name Troy Polamalu. And then I decide to become best friends with my Riolu, so he immediately evolves into a Lucario, and this Evo couldn't come at a better time, as our next fight is against the Dark Team Starbase, Giacomo. Lucario makes easy work of this fight, finishing off Ponyard with 1 Aura Sphere and the car with 3. And he only takes 30 damage this whole fight. Sorry Giacomo, you're just not good. I have 2 more encounters before my next big fight. First is a Cufant that I catch and name Jerome Bettis, but he is over the current level cap, so I send him to the box for now. A bit down the path from that is a Varoom who is also over leveled, so I catch it and name it Lin Swan and send him to the box as well. Alright, it's time for the first real rival battle of this run. She leads off the battle with Rockruff as we lead off with Troy Polamalu. Troy easily outspeeds and gets the one-shot with an Aura Sphere. Troy can also one-shot our next Pokemon, Palmy, with a single dig. And last up is Crocolore, and this thing is a huge threat. She tears for double stab on her fire moves as always as we dig underground. She then misses a yawn, and we come up from dig and deal a little less than half to the Fire Croc. An Incinerate that takes Lucario all the way down to just 19 HP. Looking back at this, I honestly should have terrestrialized into a pure fighting type to lose my weakness to fire. But hindsight is always 20/20. I have to switch now, so I go out into Mean Joe as Crocolore hits us with a yawn. Joe then hits a Pluck that takes the Croc into the red. Then an Incinerate almost one-shots Mean Joe. Switching out here would mean risking a crit on whatever mon I switch into. So I think it's best to just sacrifice our worst Pokemon. Sorry Corvisquire, you will be missed. Joe's death is not in vain though, as it lets us get the free switch out into Troy, and Troy can easily finish off this battle with a dig. I do think that Corvisquire was the right sacrifice here, even though its ground immunity would have been very useful later in the game. Before facing Iono, we have to take on Iono's Simps. Well, actually, they're more of Stan. Yep, this guy is definitely an Iono Stan. After we defeat the Stan, we get an upgrade as Ron evolves into a Tinkatink. With this upgrade, we're ready to take on Iono, who has proven to be one of the hardest gym leaders in any Gen 9 run. Setting up on Iono can be dangerous, as Spark from her Pokemon can cause paralysis, but my secret to avoiding this is the Covert Cloak. Seriously, this item is a lifesaver in this battle. Iono leads the battle off with Watch Roll as we lead off with Troy. After setting up 2 workups to raise my attack and special attacks 2 stages, we're now ready to go full Chuck Norris. That's still a popular joke, right? Like, people still say that? Troy one-shots the Watch Roll with a Rock Slide. We Terra to one-shot the Belly Bolt with an Aura Sphere. We Oko Luxio with a Dig. And after taking a Hex from the Hat Ghost, we're able to finish it off with a single Aura Sphere. You know, all Iono would have to do to prevent people from setting up like this is teach her Watch Roll Thunderwave, which it's totally capable of learning. So again, you just gotta get good. Come on, Iono. Come on. Honestly, look at her Watch Roll. It doesn't even have a 4th move. It could just be Thunder Wave. It's really sad how poorly gym leaders' teams are built. With not much to do, I head straight over to the Team Star Fire Base, where I meet up with Clive, and I absolutely love how the game just straight up basically tells you it's Clavel. It doesn't even try to hide it. I find that absolutely hysterical. After beating up 30 fire Pokemon by pushing the R button a lot, we're ready to face off against Mela. She leads the battle off with Torkoal as we lead off with Troy. Torkoal's Drought ability sets up the sun, but as usual, my lead has Rain Dance. I terrestrialize into a pure fighting type to shed my weakness to fire, and then I set up the rain to get rid of the sun. Because of the rain now, Torkoal's Flame Wheel does pitiful damage. Torkoal is a pretty tanky mon, so it's able to take a Water Pulse and survive. But it really isn't a threat at all, so next turn we just take it down with another. Last up, as with all these fights, is the Starmobile. As always, the car is super speedy, so it goes first and lowers our defense 2 stages with a Screech. We then go for a Water Pulse that deals around a third to the car. The next turn we repeat the exact same process. We get our defense lowered, and then we hit a Water Pulse. And obviously I have learned absolutely nothing from Flygon HG and my mistakes of the past, as I stay in here and I take a Flame Charge that takes us to just 3 HP. A High Roll might have even killed us, so this was extremely risky. But a third Water Pulse takes it out and we live without any deaths. See, who needs to play around the critical hit? After absolutely destroying the Earthworm Titan, we can go and encounter an Earthworm now. I name it Jay Harrison, and though his Earth Eater ability is pretty strong, his mono steel typing and underwhelming stats make me send it to the box to be forgotten. After that, I catch a Pawniard that I name Heath Miller and add to the party, and I send Jerome Bettis to the box. Then, while leveling to face Kofu, Heinz Ward evolves into a Magneton, and because I have a Thunderstone, we can immediately evolve it into a Magnezone. And what perfect timing it comes, as the next big fight is against Kofu, who uses water types. The Kofu battle turns out to be extremely easy, as we can one-shot each and every single one of his Pokemon with a single Thunderbolt. Usually Kofu is a little bit of a challenge, but Heinz Ward absolutely wiped the floor with him this fight. After this battle, I decided it's time to start gathering the Gimme Ghoul coins. While doing so, I get a few new encounters. First is a Scyther that threatens my whole team, but luckily he stays in the first quick ball so I don't lose any teammates. I name him Joey Porter and send him to the box for now, as he is way above the current level cap. After this, I find a Terra Raid that happens to be a Pineco. I catch it and name it Jack Ham and send him to the box as well, because if I'm going to use a Bug Steel type, honestly, I'm using Caesar. While gathering the coins, my team gets dangerously close to the level cap, so I decide to face off against Atticus, the Poison Team star leader, before continuing my hunt. Atticus leads off the fight with Skunk Tank, as leading it off with our boy Troy. And honestly, the thing he wears on his head is very confusing. It covers up one eye, and then when he wants to talk at some point, he uncovers it. I don't understand what is the functionality of this thing. I guess it makes you look cool. Speaking of no functionality, Skunk Tank literally can't hit Troy except with Sucker Punch. So we set up all the way to +6 in both of our attack stats, and then we one-shot it with an Earthquake. Out next is Reverum, who threatens with a Bulldoze, but thanks to a held air balloon, it can't hit that, so it only goes for an Iron Head to break her air balloon. Then it also goes down to an Earthquake. Muck is up next, and it obviously goes down to a single Earthquake as well. This brings out the big old car, and it moves first and hits a Flame Charge to take us to just 24 HP, and a +6 super effective Earthquake just misses out on the Oko on the car. Switch out into Heinz. And after tanking 2 super effective flame charges, he can easily finish off the car with a single Thunderbolt. Atticus, did you know that you can teach your lead Pokemon Skunk Tank Flamethrower? Wow, that'd be awesome. Because yet again, it has a blank slot. Seriously, Game Freak, can we build these teams to be better? Why do certain Pokemon only have 3 or even 2 moves? I know it's to make the game easier, but come on, give us a little challenge. Alright, now that the level cap is increased, we can finish our treasure hunt. And once we've accumulated 999 coins, we can evolve Franco Harris into a beastly gold dingo. I absolutely love this thing. I also have another encounter before the next gym, and it's a Klefki that I catch and name TJ Watt. But I have a superior Steel Fairy type in Rod Woodson, so you can get in the box, TJ. It's time to take on Larry, but this fight's going to be extremely easy, as he has the exact same problem as Atticus. The only move he can hit Franco, my ghost type lead, with is Sucker Punch. So I set up a substitute and then spam Metal Sound until Kamala runs out of Sucker Punch PP. Then I easily one-shot it with a Flash Cannon. Larry's next mon, the Dunsparce, has 3 moves that can't hit us at all. Glare can't do anything because of our Good as Gold ability, Hyper Drill is a normal move so it can't hit ghost types, and Drill Run can't hit us because of a held air balloon. So obviously we can just easily take it down with literally any move. Last up for Larry is Staraptor, and this thing can only hit us for resisted damage. A single Aerial Ace isn't even enough to break our substitute. So after a couple of Flash Cannons, this thing easily goes down. I'm getting really sick of telling these trainers how they can make their team better, but why don't you just teach your Kamala Thief instead of Sucker Punch, and then you would have no trouble, and I can't just freely do whatever I want to Kamala. Love you, Larry, but you are absolutely not a great trainer, my friend. Right after defeating Larry, we have to go straight into another fight with Nimona. Nimona leads off this fight with Lycanroc, as we lead off with Franco. The Rocky Pup moves first and hits a bite that deals less than half, as we strike back with a super effective Flash Cannon that easily takes it down. Nimona then sends out Palmo, and even though this damn rat isn't even fully evolved, it still outspeeds me and hits me with a Spark to take Franco to the yellow before Shadow Ball can take it down. Third out is Goomy, so I switch out into Troy as we take a resisted Dragon Pulse for 15 damage. I then set up 2 workups, increasing my attack 2 stages as Goomy chips us to 64 HP. An Aura Sphere then finishes off the Dragon Slug and brings out our final Pokemon, Skeleturge. Like I said, this thing is super scary to our team, but thanks to our +2 attack stat, we can get a clean one-shot with an Earthquake, and we get a crit to boot. Not that we needed it, but we'll take it. I don't have any new encounters before the next boss, but I do have an evolution, as Rod Woodson becomes my favorite Gen 9 mon, Tinkaton. Now that my favorite mon is in my party, we can head off to face the next gym, Rhyme, the ghostly double battle. She leads off with Mimikyu and Bayonet as we lead off with Heath and Troy. Turn 1, I Terra Heath for double stab on dark moves as Rhyme doubles up on Shadow Sneak, hitting Troy with both and dropping him to 52 HP. Heath's double stab Night Slash then cleanly one-shots the Gimp Pokemon, then Troy breaks the fake Pikachu's disguise with a Shadow Claw. In the Fallen Gimp's place, she sends out Houndstone. Thanks to the Terra boost from the crowd, Heath one-shots the dog with a Night Slash, and Troy one-shots Mimikyu with a Shadow Claw before either can get off an attack. Rhyme's last Pokemon up is Toxtricity, and honestly this thing doesn't stand a chance as our boosted team can just finish it off with a single Night Slash. Honestly, the crowd boosts in this fight make it trivial every single time. After this gym, we head over to the Sada Desert where we can easily defeat the gigantic Iron Treads, and after defeating it, we're able to encounter a regular-sized Iron Treads that we catch and name K. Pickens. And I'm sorry to anyone watching who noticed my mistakes. I know it should have been K. Pickett. Oops, whatever, doesn't really matter. Foreshadowing. I put him in the party and send Lynn Swan to the box. And even though it feels like I just fought my rival 10 seconds ago, it's time to face her again. She leads off the battle with Lycanroc as we lead off the battle with Pickens. Pickens is extremely fast and powerful, so a single Earthquake takes out the dog, then a Sligo, then the Pawmot, which brings out our last Pokemon, Skeledirge, and at this moment, I realized I screwed up. Skeledirge is extremely tanky, so a single Earthquake will not kill it, and a single Torch Song will definitely kill us. If I switch out now, I could lose multiple Pokemon, so all I can do is stay in and hope for a critical hit Earthquake. But I don't get it, and Pickens goes down in the first battle I have him thanks to my terrible planning. Goldigo can come in for free and finish off the Croc, but honestly, I should have prepared for this fight better. In my head, I just thought Earthquake would sweep her entire team, but obviously I was very wrong. Iron Treads is a beastly mon, so it's sad that I only got to use him for one fight. Alright, Lynn Swan, get back on the team even though I literally never use you and you just sit there taking up a slot. Before facing the next gym, we have to play the easiest rhythm game of all time that I still managed to mess up somehow. But after passing the gym test, I am ready to face off against the 7th gym leader, Tulip. She leads the battle off with Farafrig as we lead off with Heath. The Giraffe moves first and hits us with a Crunch that deals pretty weak damage thanks to our resistance. Heath's Night Slash then deals over half, bringing it into kill range, but instead of just dying, Tulip decides to be super annoying and set up a Reflect the next turn. So another Night Slash narrowly misses out on the kill. Reflect is going to be super annoying for my team, so I spend the next 3 turns stalling it out with Iron Defense. I then go for another Night Slash that finishes off the Farafrig right as the Reflect wears off. Out next for Tulip is Gardevoir, so I switch out into Rod, who resists a Dazzling Gleam on the switch. The next turn, a Gigaton Hammer absolutely demolishes the Rule 34 Pokemon. Out next is Espathra. After getting hit with a weak Shadow Ball, we respond with a Gigaton Hammer that does well over half to the Psychic Bird. Next turn, another Shadow Ball hits Rod to just above half as we finish off the Mon with a Play Rough. Next up is Tulip's H, Flagorges. She obviously Terras as always as I switch out into Franco, who takes a resisted Moonblast on the switch that lowers his special attack. Next turn we Terra for double stab Shadow Ball, but thanks to the special attack drop it fails to even do half now as a now neutral Moonblast hits us for much more damage, putting us in kill range. I switch out into Heinz Ward, who takes a Moonblast and gets a special attack drop. Next turn, a second Moonblast takes Heinz to just 57 HP as a Thunderbolt knocks Flagorges to the red. Not wanting to risk a crit, I switch out into Rod, who after taking a Moonblast on the switch can finish off the battle with a final Gigaton Hammer. Those special attack drops made that fight much harder than it needed to be. But regardless, we got through that fight deathless. Let's continue the boss gauntlet and take on the cutest boy in all of Paldea, Grusha. Now an Ice Gym with a Steel type team was always going to be easy, but Rod trivializes this beyond belief. All we have to do is Gigaton Hammer, protect. Gigaton Hammer, protect. Gigaton Hammer, protect. Gigaton Hammer, and the fight's over. As cute as Grusha is as bad as he is at Pokemon battling. After defeating Grusha, the level cap is finally high enough that I can trade Joey Porter holding a Metalcoat, and when I get him back, he will return as a Scizor. Finally get Lynn Swan into the box, just in time to face off against Ortega. He leads the battle off with a Zoom as I lead off with Heinz. Heinz is easily able to take down the egg-shaped Pokemon with a single Thunderbolt. This brings out Ortega's second Pokemon, Darkspun. Darkspun moves first and hits a quad-effective Mud Slap for pitiful damage, but it lowers our accuracy. Knowing my accuracy was going to be lowered and not wanting to play the Will I Hit game, I choose Volt Switch, which does a surprising amount of damage to the dog as we switch out into Joey. Joey has priority Bullet Punch and Technician, so it can easily finish off the dog. Next out is Wigglytuff, but a single Bullet Punch takes it down as well. The car is up last, and thinking it had high horsepower, I Terra into a pure flying type so as to avoid the high horsepower. But I was mistaken. Aries' car has high horsepower, not this one. So my terrestrialization was a terrible choice. A Bullet Punch deals about half to the car as it hits back with a Steel Roller that deals 40 to Joey. We should be able to live even a critical hit Steel Roller, So we stay in, and another bullet punch takes the card below half as a mystical torque takes Joey low enough that I have to switch now. I go on the Troy, who takes neutral damage from a mystical torque. This was obviously a terrible switch as we can't survive another hit, so I immediately have to switch out into Franco, who does resist the magical torque. Ortega then tries for a confuse ray that does nothing thanks to our good as gold ability. Franco then easily finishes off the car with a flash cannon to win us the badge for my favorite character with extremely gay undertones. With the level cap now increased to 56, I can level Heath to level 55 and evolve him into a Bisharp, and then after beating up some Alpha Bisharps while holding the leader's crest, we can evolve Heath into his final form, King Gambit. I really enjoy how all 3 stages of this evolutionary line are named after chess pieces. Obviously, King Gambit's going to be pretty useless in this next fight as he has a quad weakness to fighting, which Aries specializes in. This fight is going to be extremely hard as 5 of the 6 members of my team are weak to fighting. Aries leads the fight off with Toxicroak as we lead off with Joey. Turn 1, the frog outspeeds us and hits us with a Brick Break for a solid chunk of damage. I then set up a Swords Dance to raise my attack 2 stages. Next turn, another Brick Break takes us to the orange and procs our Citrus Berry, healing us back up to around half health. I then set up a second Swords Dance for +4 attack. The following turn, I Terra Joey, so we now resist the Brick Break so it does much less damage. Joey then sets up a final Swords Dance to max out his attack stat. He's now ready for the sweep. A Bullet Punch takes out the Toxicroak, Annihilate, Passimian, Lucaria resists the Bullet Punch, but it's so frail it goes down anyway. And last up is the Car, who is super scary. A +6 Bullet Punch is not enough to take it down, so I have to avoid a crit, and honestly I think this is my best choice. We do survive the crit and survive on this 12 HP. Spin Out lowers the speed of the car, which is great because another bullet punch wouldn't have killed, and now we can simply outspeed it and use an aerial ace to finish it off. Honestly, I was fully prepared to lose Joey in this fight, but I'm happy to have seen him survive as he will be a key member of my team for the Elite Four now. But we still have one more fight to do before we head to the Elite Four, and that's the fight against Clavel. The director leads off the fight with a Rain Guru as we lead off with Joey. Turn 1, I set up an agility to raise Joey's speed 2 stages. The Rain Guru then uses Yawn that will put us to sleep at the end of the next turn. Now that our speed is raised, I use a Swords Dance to raise our attack 2 stages. Turns out this was an extremely risky play as I forgot how foul play works. It uses our attack stat against us and nearly Okos us, but luckily we survive. We do fall asleep at the end of the turn, but thanks to a Chesto Berry, we wake up right away. A +2 stab super effective X Scissor is then enough to take down the normal psychic type. This brings out Houndoom, who threatens with a quad super effective Fire Blast, but thanks to the agility I set up, I can now outspeed and take the doggo out with a single X Scissor. Next out is Gyarados, who lowers our attack as it enters. That, combined with the fact that it resists all of my attacks, means I have to switch. I switch out into Hines, who takes a pretty strong Aqua Tail on the switch. Hines then outspeeds the Gyarados and goes for a quad super effective Volt Switch that takes it down and gives us a free switch out into Heath as Clavel sends out Abomasnow. This thing can't really do much to Heath, so we take it out over the next 2 turns with a Poison Jab followed by a Brick Break. Clavel's penultimate Pokemon is Poltegeist, and I have the type advantage here, so I stay in. But I forget this Teapot is super annoying and it uses Will-O-Wisp to burn my Pokemon. This makes Kowtow Cleave just miss out on the kill, but the Teapot can only hit us for resisted damage, so we take it down next turn with another Kowtow Cleave. This brings out Clavel's ace, Meowscarada. We switch out into Rod, who resists a Play Rough on the switch and then heals a bit from leftovers. Next turn, we get hit with a Thunder Punch for about a 4th as a Gigaton Hammer does massive damage. We really aren't in any danger here, so after a turn of Protect and another Thunder Punch, we can take it down with another Gigaton Hammer. I really do enjoy the Clavel fight. He has such a fun and diverse team to fight. After wasting 30 minutes looking for a Shuca Berry, I just give up and I head to face the Elite Four. First up is Rika, a ground specialist who might be our biggest challenge in the entire league. She leads off the battle with Wishcash as we lead off with Joey. On turn 1, I set up a Sword Stance as the fish hits us with a Muddy Water, which luckily doesn't get the accuracy drop. The following turn, a quad super effective Trailblaze takes down the fish and raises our speed. Rika, seeing the kill with a Fire Blast, now sends out Camerupt. After terrestrializing Joey into a pure flying type, I get a clean one-shot with the now stab Aerial Ace. Donphan is out next, and it has Sturdy, so it'll live any move that I throw at it. So I use Trailblaze to break its Sturdy and raise my speed as the Donphan goes for a Stone Edge that I can survive thanks to a held Charty Berry that I found while searching for a Shuca Berry. I can finish off the Donphan with another Trailblaze, which brings out Dugtrio. And thanks to all the speed boost from the Trailblaze, I can easily outspeed it and take it down with a single Trailblaze. Last up is Clodsire, and it doesn't stand any chance, and after a turn of Protect, it goes down to a single Aerial Ace, winning us this fight. This fight was extremely scary, and if anything went wrong, we could have easily lost the run here. The next Elite Four member is a literal child named Poppy, and this is the Steel Mirror match. Poppy leads off with Caporaja as we lead off with Troy. Troy takes down the Caporaja with a single Aura Sphere, bringing out Bronzong, who thanks to its psychic typing only takes neutral damage from Aura Sphere. Knowing it's going to go for an Earthquake, I switch out into Franco, who is holding an air balloon to avoid the Earthquake on the switch. A super effective Shadow Ball then takes down the Bell. Poppy then sends out Magnezone. We stay in and hit a Shadow Ball for good damage, as Poppy sets up a Light Seam which could be super annoying. So instead of finishing off the Magnezone with Franco, I switch out into Heath, who can tank a Discharge but gets paralyzed super annoyingly. Next turn, a second Discharge fails to take us below half as we break through paralysis and then go for a Brick Break that destroys the light screen and takes down the Magnezone. Poppy then sends out Corviknight, reminding me of our falling teammate Joe. But I have no time to mourn. Corviknight threatens Heath with a quad effective body press, so I switch out into Franco, who is immune. This now baits a Brave Bird, so I can switch out into Hind, who quad resists. Next turn, we outspeed and get an Oko on the Steel Bird with a single Volt Switch that gives us a free switch out into Troy. Poppy then sends in a race Tinkaton. We Terrasilize into a pure Fighting type as Tinkaton Terrasilizes into a pure Steel type, and because of this, the Tinkaton goes down to a single Aura Sphere. Sorry kid, I'm the Steel Master of Paldea. The third Elite Four member is Larry, who switched it up from normal types to flying types. He leads the battle off with Tropius as I lead off with Joey. We move first and hit a super effective Technician boosted Aerial Ace that leaves Tropius in the red. Tropius then sets up the sun with Sunny Day. Thanks to Tropius' Chloroform ability, it now moves first and hits us with an Air Slash, but luckily it doesn't get a flinch, so we can finish it off with a second Aerial Ace. Out next is Altaria, who threatens with a quad super effective Flamethrower. But I Terrasilize Joey into a pure Flying type. We take neutral damage from a Flamethrower. This allows Joey to deal good damage to the bird with an Aerial Ace. Expecting an Ice Beam now, I switch out into Franco, who can easily tank it and finish off the Cloud Dragon with a Shadow Ball the following turn. Larry then sends out Staraptor. The speedy bird moves first and uses Thief that Franco tanks pretty well. A Make It Rain then gets a clean Oko on the bird and lowers his special attack, bringing out Larry's next bird, Oricorio. We outspeed Oricorio, so we move first and hit a Shadow Ball that deals less than half. Larry then wastes a turn going for a Tear Dance that has no effect thanks to our Good as Gold ability. Another Shadow Ball then leaves the cheerleading bird with a Sliver as Larry goes for another Teeter Dance. It really feels like the AI in this game just doesn't understand how the Good as Gold ability works. A third Shadow Ball finishes it off, and out comes Larry's ace, Flamigo, who is a big threat to our team with the combination of Scrappy that allows it to hit ghost types with fighting moves and close combat that could entirely one-shot my whole team. But I have a plan for this. I switch out into Hind on a close combat, and thanks to his ability Sturdy, he survives in just 1 HP. Thanks to a held Choice Scarf, we can outspeed and one-shot the bird with a Thunderbolt to win the fight. I love how Larry, even though completely over everything, still makes a pun after this fight. It is such a Pokemon thing to do to make a pun about what type you use. The final Elite Four member is Hassel, the Dragon User. He leads the battle off with Noivern as I lead off with Rod. The Speedy Bat moves first and uses Super Fang that deals half of our HP. Rod then hits a Play Rough for a clean one-shot and then gains some health back with held leftovers. This brings out Dragalge. And on turn 1 we use Protect for some leftovers recovery as he goes for a Hydro Punch. This allows me to maximize leftover recovery on Rod to stay healthy. The following turn, a Gigaton Hammer takes the Poison Dragon to the red as a Hydro Pump takes us to the orange. But after leftovers recovery from this turn and the following turn of Protect, we are back to half. The Dragalge is so low we can finish it off now with a resisted Skitter Smack. This brings out Haxorus, who Rod can just one-shot with a Play Rough. That is, unless we miss. Haxorus then hits an Iron Head for neutral damage, taking us to just 40 HP. Even after 2 turns of leftovers recovery, I am still too low to survive an Iron Head. But I stay in anyway, risking the 90% accurate Play Rough. But luckily, we don't miss again, so we easily take out the Haxorus. Out next is Flapple, and this thing obviously goes down to a single Play Rough as well. This brings out Hassel's ace, Baxcalibur. After a turn of Protect, we Terrasilize into a pure Fairy type and go for a Play Rough that takes a dragon all the way to the red. A now resisted Brick Break does next to no damage. So next turn, a Gigaton Hammer could easily finish off this battle with as much overkill as you can imagine. Yeah, Hassel, I would cry too if I was that bad of a trainer. Alright, time to face the worst champion in Pokemon history, the champion, Geeta. She leads the battle off with Espathra as we lead off with Franco. Espathra moves first and hits a resisted Luminous Crash that harshly lowers Franco's special defense. A stab super effective Spell Tag boosted Shadow Ball then easily takes out Lady Gaga. This brings out Avalugg, who does have super effective Earthquake, but he's super slow. So Franco can take it out with a single super effective Make It Rain. Geeta's next Pokemon is King Gambit, so I switch out to Troy on a resisted Kowtow Cleave. Troy then easily destroys the King Gambit with a quad super effective Aura Sphere. This brings out Go-Goat, so I switch out to Joey as the Goat just sets up a Bulk Up. And the Bulk Up definitely mattered as an X-Scissor just misses out on the kill. But the Goat can't really hurt Joey, so after a resisted Play Rough, a second X-Scissor takes it down. Fluzra is up next, and it goes down to a single X-Scissor before it can do anything. Glumora is out last, and even with a critical hit, it doesn't threaten Joey at all, so 2 bullet punches later, and we have taken down Geeta deathless for the 4th run in a row. Will Geeta ever be a threat? Will she ever take down one of her Pokemon? Alright, with the champion down, we can now head to face the champion, the true champion of the region, Nemona. Honestly, she is such an awesome rival, and this final battle is super epic. She leads off the fight with Lycanroc as I lead off with Troy. Turn 1, I Terrasilize Troy into a pure fighting type. Lycanroc then sets up Stealth Rocks before getting completely destroyed by an Aura Sphere. Out next is Palmot, and this thing is speedy. Palmot moves first and hits a close combat that just misses out on the kill, and with a crit easily would have killed us. Thankfully we live, so a single Aura Sphere can take it down. Dunsparce is out next, and like the Pokemon before it, it falls to a single Aura Sphere. 4th out is Orthworm, and you guessed it, it goes down to a single Aura Sphere. Goodra is out 5th, and it won't go down to a single attack, so I switch out into Joey, who takes chip damage from Stealth Rock and an Ice Beam on the switch. The following turn, Goodra outspeeds, but it misses a Muddy Water as Joey hits an X-Scissor for more than half. The next turn, Goodra misses Muddy Water again, so we can easily finish it off with a U-turn that gives us a free switch out into Heath. She then sends out her final Pokemon, and we're probably going to have to make a sacrifice because Skeledirge is absolutely terrifying. Turn 1, we use Kowtow Cleave that hits for less than half. Torch Song then blasts us all the way down to the yellow and rages Skeledirge's special attack. I have to make a sacrifice here, and honestly, sadly, I think Heath is the one who has to go. I hit a Kowtow Cleave and I say farewell to my friend. But thanks to our unbreakable bond, Heath doesn't want to see me sad, so he lives at 1 HP. So we can now finish off the battle with a 3rd Kowtow Cleave. I'm honestly not a fan of the advantages you get over the AI in this game, like friendship, but I can't turn them off, so as the kids say, we take those. Guess Nemona needs to just make better friends with her Pokemon or something. Alright, with that battle down, it's time to finish this run. AI Churro was the final boss, and I am prepped to take him out without any deaths. Turo leads with Iron Moth as I lead off with Troy. Thanks to a Choice Scarf, Troy outspeeds the Iron Moth, and a quad super effective Earthquake easily takes it down. Even though this thing looks like it flies. Like seriously, it's definitely not on the ground. Turo then does me a huge favor and sends out Iron Thorns next, who is also quad weak to Earthquake, so it goes down. He then stops doing me favors and sends in Iron Jugulis, who I can't hit thanks to the fact that I'm locked into Earthquake with Choice Scarf. I switch out to Heath, who tanks a Flamethrower pretty well on the switch. Another Flamethrower then takes Heath to the orange as an Iron Head takes Iron Jugulis into the kill range. I decide not to play around the critical hit here as Flamethrower is going to do a lot to anyone on my team. I stay in with Heath, who lives on just 9 HP, and then finishes off the future Hydreigon with another Iron Head. Iron Hands is up next, and knowing it is going for either a Fake Out or a Drain Punch, I can freely switch out into Franco. Franco outspeeds and uses Psychic to take the Iron Hands all the way to the red. A Thunder Punch then hits, but luckily doesn't get the paralysis, so a second Psychic can take down Big Hands McGee. His penultimate Pokemon is Iron Bundle, and this thing really, seriously, never does anything. He uses Snowscape twice in a row, so it just goes down to 2 Shadow Balls easily. Iron Valiant is up last, and it can't really do much to Franco. So, after a Spirit Break, a Make It Rain can Oko the Iron Valiant to win us this run. This one was extremely metal. Get it? Because metal, steel is metal, get it? It's a funny joke, laugh. Well, anyways, this run made me appreciate the defensive capabilities of Steel. I am a player that loves being extremely offensive, so Steel was a nice change of pace, though I did my best to Oko as many Pokemon as possible. Thanks to Flygon HC for making a guest appearance in this video, and remember, always play around the critical— shorts are comfy and easy to wear.